You're listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. The views and comments expressed in this podcast are not necessarily those of the AMAA or our sponsors. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. Presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. Check them out at adaptivemartialarts.org. Breaking barriers, one move at a time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Label. I'm JD.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. So today is martial arts at its best, and martial arts is not about punching and kicking. It's about being able to think 2 steps ahead. And so we got a little jam today. Our special guest couldn't make it, so we've decided to do a little something different. So we'll see how that goes.
So what we did here was we reached out all the way into your living room, and we grabbed your wife, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
So it's great to see you virtually.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So so give us a little story here, because now I've known you since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I first met you and Jason. We all worked at a radio station here in Rutland, Vermont. My first day on the job, I got there. And so we had this like little balcony area. There was a couple stations in the upstairs, but we were kind of in the mezzanine. It was an old opera house is what we were in. And so we were on like a half floor. So I go over there, and you're in the middle there, and Jason's on the other end. I think we flipped those around at one time, right? Didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you were in the middle, and then Jason was on the far end. And I go on, I'm like, where's my desk? And the general manager at the time says, oh yeah, it's out back. You got to put it together. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've known we were coming over here for like 6 months. Nobody could put a workspace together for me. So I spent my first day at the radio station building my workstation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my first basically meeting with Katie and Jason.
So anyway, you explained the radio station experience, but I don't think you really explained it, because she was supposed to be the senior traffic director teaching you how things went. And you know,
he did traffic before. What did I have to teach him?
So anyway,
well, it was a different system, and
Right.
and she was like, "Oh, you had the training." I was like, I had it 6 months ago, and I've never looked at it again since. And she was not very helpful. You were not very helpful at all.
She's like that. If she doesn't want to be, she's just like.
So that's when I found out that the two of you were well, you weren't married yet. You were a couple. Weren't
What?
you? Didn't you were like trolling him on the internet or something like that?
I
How
wasn't
did you guys?
trolling him.
How did you guys meet? It was on the internet.
It was on the internet, yes.
So who was trolling who? I mean, how did you guys meet on the internet?
Well, so anyway, how it goes, right? My buddy.
I want to hear it from Katie.
I'm not sure she even.
I didn't reach out first. He did.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure she even. So my buddy was home from college, and he's a lot like you. He's just a screwball, and he's like, dude, if you want to meet chicks, he's like, there's this new thing called AOL. He's like, the chicks are all over, right? He's like, all you do is you put in where you're looking, and it just brings you up all these profiles. You look through and find the one you're most interested in. So I'm going through, and I find this profile, and I'm like, horses, animals. Like, yeah, right? Well, there was no age. She didn't put an age on her profile, right? So I'm like, hey, how you doing? Right? The basic, AOL lingo, right? Age, sex, and location was what you used to find out, right?
Oh, okay.
So she's like 15, female,
wait. How old were you?
I'm getting to that. So I'm 22, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to jail, bro. And I click the thing off, right? Click. And she's like, hey, are you still there? I'm like, click. Hello? I'm like, click. And she was like, okay, well, I guess you're not going to talk to me. So I click it off and I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to jail, you know? And so then a couple of days, and your email was attached right to your profile name. So a couple
Okay.
of days later, I get this email. It's like, I really thought you were very interesting until I gave you my age and blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, like and then I'm like, well, you're kind of like being, yeah, that's kind of mean. You probably should answer. And I was like, look, you're 15, I'm 22, like probably not gonna be, you know, it's like nice, I'll chat with you, but and
No, wait a minute. So back up a little bit. You were 15 years old. What are you doing on this thing?
On the internet?
Yeah, how was your profile thing up there? You just
I don't know. I made it when I got the computer and got my first email.
and so were you like trying to find guys on
No,
there?
I wasn't. It was just on. You were. It was like on in the background as you were on the internet back in the day.
it was like automatically on,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
like an instant messenger kind of thing,
Yeah.
But
So eventually you got over the fact that you were 22 and she was 15. You started this computer
well, so
conversation
yeah.
back
So
in.
anyway, I got to tell you, like in all seriousness, like so we got
You're going to
talking,
jail.
we got talking,
Okay.
and I'm like, hey, like, hey, this girl actually gets it, because I'm like, for me at the time, I was very self conscious of the crutches. I had some girls that I liked in high school that were like, I think we just want to be friends. Like, you have those crutches. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And
okay.
and so I'm like, well, we had some pretty good conversations about life, and Katie was pretty introverted, and she still is. She's better, but she's still a little bit introverted, and so you get talking, and I'm like, hey, I was like, that's pretty neat that you can kind of like have an intelligent conversation. I said, but before this goes too much further, I said you got to realize again, you're 15, I'm 22. I said, but I also have crutches, and she was like, well, I'll let her tell you what she told me.
So how far into this online dating did he actually tell you that he had cerebral palsy and that he had crutches? I mean, how long had you been?
I think it was pretty quick. It's been 21 years almost. I don't remember all the details like he does. He's Rain Man, remember?
Well, yeah, okay, all right.
I don't like. I think it was pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was fairly quick into it. Like I was like, man, there's no sense of hiding it. It's who I am, and
Okay.
I was ready for like, okay, well, it is
Well,
what it is.
see you later.
Yep, yeah,
But what happened?
The crutches don't bother me.
Yeah.
Like
and
they,
that was exactly what she said. And I said, you do know what I said, right? Like I have crutches, right? She's like, that doesn't matter to
And this
me.
is I use them all the time. This is how I get around. I
yeah.
Right.
use them all the time. Okay.
And she was like, that's fine. And then she actually kind of started to get a little more serious, like, yeah, I think I really like you. And I said, well, I like you too, actually. I said, but again, you're 15, I'm 22, and I'm not going to jail. So probably should maybe not even think about that. And she was just like, you know, um,
Until my mom wrote a note.
yeah, she was like, I really like you. Like,
Your
um,
mother wrote you a note that said, "I really like you."
My
no,
mom wrote a note that said it was okay.
yeah, that it was
It
okay.
was okay for you to be talking to a 22-year-old man
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on
well,
the internet.
well, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
thing about it is, and probably most of our listeners don't understand. Like, we live in like an incredibly small town,
It's pretty rural.
so it's like,
At 15, some places you'd already have a couple kids. So,
yeah,
we're not here to judge.
but
So
but
when did you first go out? What was your first
well,
date?
so I have to get to that,
Oh, okay. All
right?
right. Well,
So
Oh, yeah,
today.
he's Rain Man, you know.
so I have to get to that. No, so it was like, she was like, I really like you, and I'm like, well, yeah, I like you too. Like, she was like, do you think that there could be more to this? And I said, well, yeah, but again, and I'm like, fine. If you're not gonna leave me alone, I'm like, then I need to know that this is okay with your mom because I'm not going to jail. I'm like, she needs to write a note. And as I said, we live in a small town, right? So everybody knows everybody, and some friends of her mom's knew my family and stuff like that. And so I said, listen, my sister works at the bank. I'm like, until I get this note from your mom, I'm like, no more correspondence on
Have been
here.
notarized and
Right. So
witnessed by the police department.
so her mom, well, there's a funny story behind that too.
Oh my God, Jason.
Oh,
So her mom sends this note that says, if you would like, I don't mind if you wanna, talk to my daughter. I think it would be good for her, blah, blah, blah. You guys, you seem like a pretty good guy. She says, and as a matter of fact, if you'd like to, go on a date, like to the movies or something, she said, I would be fine with that. She said, and as a matter of fact, if you want, I'll drive you. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. And, and so,
Nothing.
so,
I'm good. I'm good. Go ahead. Go
so,
ahead.
but by then, so we met in August and this is getting close to September, October now, and so we decided like, yeah, like we think we want to date, like your mother's okay with it, and like, and I laid it flat out, like I'm not gonna like push any of this. It's like it's all up to you because I'm not gonna be like begging you to be with me and et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, no, that's fine, and then we went on a date. I guess it was probably November,
Yeah, I
and
think so.
so she says to me, and you know me, by this time I'm pretty comfortable with her. So she says to me, "Well," she says, "I'll meet you at the movies. My mother's gonna drop me there." I said, "Okay, I'll see you there." She goes, "But how will I know it's you?" I'm like, "Well, how many other people in our town do you know that has crutches?" And I remember walking into the movie theater and seeing this girl up on she was standing on the benches, like looking through the crowd looking for me. And I'm like, I'm over here. She says, yeah, I spotted the crutches. I said, see, it works. And, from there on in, it was all right. Her, her grandparents, they didn't really think very fondly of it. A, because of the age difference, and then B, the generation that they came from. And that's really the point of the podcast here is, they felt like I was going to be a burden to her. They looked in the medical books and everything they saw was like an invalid with CP,
Mhm.
and that it was going to be, a life of work and trauma for her, and so it for a long time, like, it bothered me, but I was kind of used to it, and so for the longest time, I mean, it got tough with the grandparents. It was to a point, I think, where, what was it, Katie? We didn't talk to them for,
Quite a few years, I think.
yeah, it was quite a few years, and it
Because
was
they weren't on board with the whole thing. They were
Hmm.
looking out for your best interest, Katie, thinking that what are you getting yourself into, kind of
Yeah,
a.
and then they finally came around, and before my grandfather died, he apologized
you know,
to
and it,
about what had happened and everything.
and it was one of those things where it was like, it wasn't even her. It was She was like, if they can't accept you, then they don't get me either. And so it was her choice that we didn't, you know. But it was looked upon like it was my, like, oh well, you're keeping her. I'm like, man, I'm not doing nothing. Like, it's her deal, and we've been together ever since. But I still
That was what,
struggle.
21 years you said, and
Yeah,
then you got engaged in what year?
Uh,
2005.
yeah. Well, I'd have to take my wedding band off to be sure, but I think so.
2005. And what is it?
Look at
10,
this.
10, 11. No, was it 9, 18, 10?
Yeah.
Well, that's when you got engaged, but that was
when we got married,
when you
when
got
we officially
engaged.
started dating, all the anniversaries are the same day.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time we thought it was just because it was cool, but now that I'm getting older, it was done by design so that we
So
didn't
you can
forget.
remember.
Yeah.
And then you had it engraved inside your wedding band.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that's
I got
smart.
too fat and mine doesn't fit, so everybody's like, "Oh, you're not married anymore?" I'm like, "No, I was still
Told
married."
you
Just
I know a guy
doesn't
who can
fit.
get that taken care of for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just to remind folks that you're listening to Beyond the Label. It's a raw, real life look at living life with disabilities, presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. AdaptiveMartialArts.org, breaking barriers one move at a time. We've got Jason Davis here and his wife, Katie. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're just going to take a quick little break, and we'll be back and want to hear more. I want to hear more of the juicy details.
Okay, we've got them for you on the other side of the break, brother.
Beyond the Label, presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. It's no secret, every martial artist, no matter their age, dreams of becoming a legend. A legend. Having their name listed among the greats like Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and Jackie Chan. You can hide it or deny it, but you know it's true. Being a legend takes raw talent, dedication, big breaks, and an ability to survive a roller coaster called fame. But it also takes one more thing to go with it. The best gear and equipment in the world. From the company that is martial arts, Century Martial Arts. They aren't just another martial arts supplier that's never set foot on a mat. They are martial artists, and that means they know their products and use what they sell. From uniforms and training gear to weapons and equipment, Century has it all for every martial arts style. Although you may never be listed among the greats, you can still shop like one at CenturyMartialArts.com and unleash your legend within. Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976. You're listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. Presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association. Check them out at AdaptiveMartialArts.org.
Welcome back to Beyond the Label. It's the stuff that you see, if you could see in the break, that is the best part of the whole show. I'm JD, along with my sidekick.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
And my wife. I can't get rid of her. She's always here with me. Katie.
Danger Davis.
Yeah, that's it.
Danger's her middle name.
You gonna talk about the time that you
What are you talking about?
You said Danger's my middle name. I said, are you gonna talk about the time that you experienced that?
Yeah, no kidding. I don't even know what brought this all on.
I don't remember what you were saying.
I can't imagine.
Now, Katie and Jason had both been kind of training in the martial arts in karate, and Katie had been working on her
Nugate.
Nugate. Okay, all right. So, and I'm messing with. I'm like wax on, wax on. I don't know. I'm doing something, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she does this finger poke thing, and she hits me right here in the solar plexus. Is that what that is? Huh?
I warned you that I was going to if you kept it up.
Well, yeah, but I didn't even see it coming. And it was like, and she hits me right here. I'm like, oh, I thought I was gonna die. And then, like the next day, I get up and I'm in the shower, and the shower head is hitting me. I'm like, wow, what happened to my chest? And I'm like, that was for Katie. Katie gave me the finger poke thing. What is that even called?
Nugate. It's not a
finger
poke. It's like your knuckles.
Oh, was it a nut? Oh, okay.
It's a knuckle.
Well, it hurt. It still hurts. I think I got internal damage.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many years? That was like 10 years ago. I think
that was a long time ago.
Broke my clavicle.
Sorry, bro. You're not going to get any money out of me. We got a disclaimer.
My sternum. I think you shattered my sternum right here. What? And you knew exactly what you were doing, and then you started laughing. I'm almost.
I did, because you kept just picking and poking, and I'm like, stop! I'm gonna do it, and you're like, no, you're not.
That doesn't sound like me at all.
No, not at all.
No. All right. So before we went to the break, we kind of were talking about, and Jason and Katie have been married since what year was it?
2010.
2010. So they got their big 11th anniversary coming up here in a next Saturday. So we've talked with other guests, and we kind of asked them what are some of the things that you kind of run up against, and it's always been somebody that actually the person that we've been talking to actually has the disability for the most part, whether it's missing a lower extremity, part of an arm, has cerebral palsy, has some sort of other condition that they have to deal with, the disability that they have to deal with. In the instance today, now Jason is the one that has the cerebral palsy, and Katie is the one who, well, she's the one who's basically taken this on, and it's not really how I wanted to word it, but it is. It's a lifetime commitment that you've made, that you're going to stand by him through whatever, and you know that things are probably going to progress down the road. Currently, he's able to get around for the most part, most of the time, unless he's going to be on crutches for quite a length of time. Then he'll use a mobile scooter or whatever. But there, more than likely, there's going to come a day where that's not even going to be an option anymore. That you're probably going to be in a chair. And I know you've kind of already done some improvements and different things around your own house to make it accessible for him. You've installed a ramp right from the get go
Mhm.
to lead into the house. Most houses don't have carpeting throughout.
Mhm.
They have like a tile kitchen or something like that, but you have
Yep.
carpeting throughout the house because if it's not carpet, he's gonna probably biff it on his crutches
Yep. He'll
at
go
some
for a
point or
ride.
another. Yeah, right, right. So just some of the things that you deal with on a daily basis. I know you probably don't even really think about it twice anymore because you've been doing stuff to help him with things for quite a while. But
Mhm.
what are some of the things that are difficult?
Nothing is really difficult, really. Like to speed the process up in the mornings, I help him get dressed because it would just take him like we'd be late for everything if I just didn't help him, especially like tying his shoes. Can you imagine? Not being mean, Jason, but you know what I'm saying?
Hey, I know my limitations. The man's got to
man's
know his
man's got to know his
limitations.
limitations. This is true.
And then like
100%.
he can do the shower himself, but he only really he gets paranoid like getting out of the shower from the stair or the not the stair, but the chair in the shower to the chair outside. He thinks he's
Okay.
gonna fall, so I just stand there and let him just know that someone's there. But he pretty much can do anything himself
So
until we go to his mommy's.
True that.
Yeah, it is.
he's mama's boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've also installed a stair chair
Yep.
because you have a 2-story house, well, 3-story, I guess, including the basement or whatever. But
Yeah.
to be able to get up and down the stairs.
Yep.
Um, what about the driving? I know that you drive for the most part.
Yeah, because we
Um,
do again. He drives slow.
I prefer to call it cautious, but you may say
Well,
slow.
but I do all the driving just because it's just easier for me to just drive.
has there been occasions where you just kind of completely forget that he's walking around on crutches and that maybe he needs his crutches to be able to get from point A to point B? Have you just ever kind of just, I don't know,
Um,
driven off and left him in the driveway or anything like that?
yes,
Maybe.
we did that
run,
last summer.
run them over with your car.
Done that too. Yeah, we were
I mean,
going
are
to
there?
where were we going, Jason? What
You were
town
do-
was that?
he was going to do a special TED talk or something in Pittsfield or
Yeah,
something like
at
that.
Going up to Joe DeSena's farm to do a motivational speech to the wrestling camp. And we got in the car, drove up there,
I
got
was
there,
late.
and I'm like, "Oh crap, where are your crutches?" He's like, "Well, I don't know where are they?" I said, "I don't know. What do we leave them at home?" So I check my cameras, and I'm like, "Shit, they can't. They're in the driveway." So that was interesting.
Oopsie.
And I think like for Katie, it's kind of like second nature now. Like she doesn't even realize. Like sometimes, like we're in the store and she'll just leave me in the dust, right? Like I'm like, where? What are you doing? But she doesn't even realize it now. it used to be when we first got together. She was much kinder when we first got together, I must say.
Aren't they all?
So we used to, we'd go for a walk, in the evenings after supper and stuff like that. And so I was crossing the road one day, and I fell in the middle of the road, and so she gets over to the other side of the road and begins to cry. And I'm like, "Why are you crying? You better get me out of the road." She's like, "I feel so bad because you fell over." Now she practically just pushes me over most times and doesn't even think about it. But
Well, you fall. It's funny when you. Well, it's not funny, but it's funny because you like fall in slow motion.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like taking that last whack at a tree before you fell it, and it just slowly just
Yeah.
and it is.
Except
But
for when
and you're completely and you're helpless because you can't. There's no way you can stop him from falling at that point.
I know.
You just have to wait until the carnage and then try and scoop him back up. But
I know.
yeah, so there's
That's like
really
when he
nothing
flips
you
the
can
scooter.
do.
you
Oh,
know,
I didn't hear about you flipping the
uh,
scooter.
You didn't know he flipped the scooter last summer in the driveway?
Were you speeding?
I was.
He
Well, I
was.
got a little bit angry. My martial arts got out of check, and I got a little bit angry.
Your chi was off.
And and so I was painting out on the front porch, and I brought the paint and all the stuff I needed,
Uh,
and I forgot my phone in the shed, and I was quite upset, and I gunned it and turned at the same time, and over we went.
oh no, was the
Did
thing
he
on
call
top of
her
you?
rolled her?
And Katie comes over, right? And she could tell I was steaming, right? So she just picks the scooter up and leaves me there. Like, I'm not touching him because I'm not gonna get it. Well, we put it on Facebook because it was totally hilarious, and
Yeah, I couldn't help it. It was too funny.
some people are gonna think we're heartless, but if you can't laugh at yourself, you got nothing, right? So, we put it on Facebook though, and she caught a bunch of flack for like, why did you leave him there in the driveway and
Oh
things like
boy,
that, and like,
Mhm.
that's when you just go in there unfriend those kind of people because they don't get it.
I think one was my mother.
Yeah, you should have unfriended her anyway, like years ago. No,
and it
I'm
was
teasing. She's the one that actually gave you a written note so that you could see Jason.
That's true.
It's
so
awesome. I still can't believe that. I didn't
now
know
it's
there was
just
a.
and
You still have the letter, the
I
note?
I
Yes.
do. We have it
I
in
knew
our
you would
in
have
our
it.
scrapbook.
You
Yeah,
just
no,
scrap it right next to your
um,
marriage license,
yeah, but
your citation from the police for dating an underage girl.
so
Thank God, Charlie.
I told you I would tell you this story.
Oh, okay.
So I got to tell you,
Let's
right?
hear it. Is it
So
PG? Is it PG?
it is.
Okay.
So Katie calls me up, and we'd been dating for a while. Like we knew, and that was the thing. Like when we got together, we were like, this is gonna be for like, because she had a rough go growing up. Her parents were divorced and stuff. And I'm like, no, if we're doing this, like I'm here for you until I'm not. And we made that agreement. And so we were together for quite a while, and she calls me up one day frantic, like in tears. And I said, what's the matter with you? She's like, well, my dad. She says, he found out how old you are and stuff, and he's got a buddy that's a state trooper, and he said he was gonna have you investigated. I said, well, that's okay.
About that.
I said, that's okay. Just make sure he puts the P in my middle name because if the
Oh.
P is not there, there's
Yeah.
another Jason Davis that's less than reputable. I said, and he will get he'll get the wrong guy and then we'll be in trouble. And so anyway, we still laugh about that to this
Forgot
day.
all about that actually. That
Me
dad
and her,
would have him do that.
yeah, me and her father laugh about it all the time.
Oh
But
man.
and then yeah, so that's been. I mean, I guess that brings me around to the next point to all this, and it's like, um, for me, I guess our my biggest struggle with our relationship, and still to this day, I mean, why would somebody like her want to be with a guy like me, and you second guess it, and you wonder if it's true, and then you go, man, she wouldn't put up with all the crap that I put her through for these 21 years if it wasn't true, you know, and I think if you're somebody with a disability, you got to realize that you have a value, you have a worth. Um, People do look at you in a romantic setting, whether you believe it or not. Um, and and you should be not afraid to just put yourself out there and see what happens.
Well, I've heard Katie referred to as a saint on more than one occasion, and it's not because you have CP. It's just because look at you, just because you're you. But Jason isn't your only uh, person with a disability that you've had in your life, right? I mean, your mother with her diabetes. I mean, she
Hmm.
got into the point where it dropped her blood sugar dropped so low she went into a coma.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that was a long time ago, and
Hmm.
I understand she's doing much better now with things. As far as I
Yep.
know, you haven't heard from her
No, she
talking about
is.
her in a while, but
Hmm.
your dad recently diagnosed with Parkinson's
Yeah.
disease. You're pretty impressive. I've been impressed with you pretty much since the first time I met
Oh, well, thanks.
you. You're
um,
pretty awesome,
yeah,
and
no,
you're
it's
okay.
it's yeah, actually, you know what she said about you when we first met?
Wow,
So
that guy's an asshole.
I think I did. He knows what I said. I'm pretty sure I told him that
Yeah,
from
I'm
the.
pretty sure I might have been. But I kind of have this maybe this kind of sense of humor where you don't really know how to take me, but most of the time
Really?
I'm
Messing
hardly
with you?
ever I'm hardly ever serious about anything.
Yeah. It did take
So
a long time to figure that one out, though.
and when he
What
is
did you say?
serious, you know he's serious.
yeah,
There's a whole different tone. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess, like you say, I mean, that would be my takeaway is that, everybody is worth something, and then,
yeah.
everybody has value, and you'll have your struggles, and everybody's like, do you guys fight? Do you get along? It's really a two-way street. We complement each other pretty well.
Yeah, you do.
Um, you know, and everybody's like, well, do you guys fight and whatever? Sure, we do, but that comes with maturity too, and now we don't. We kind of enjoy each other. I mean, we worked together side by side for so many years. There was a period of time where we didn't work together,
Mm,
and we were just talking about this the other day, where we weren't actually happy not working together. And now we work together in the school system, and it just seems to fit right. And a lot of people say, you see too much of each other or whatever, but it works for us. And when we need a timeout, we take it. I've got the garage and I go there, or I've got the studio and I go there. Um,
Yeah, I just want to give you just a little word of advice though. If you guys ever do, get into a fight and the words going back and forth just aren't enough, and then you start going, physically at it, watch out for this thing when she kind of comes at you with the knuckle thing and right here, protect this area here.
she's very vicious if she wants to be. I have to
Well,
tell you.
she was really into the whole martial. She was doing a lot of training. She was working on her kata, and she
I'm
was
not
doing all
physical,
that.
though.
And she was doing all that, and then all of a sudden she had like this costochondritis thing,
No, that's
and
not what scared me away. It's the pinched nerve in my elbow. The arm
oh, is
bar.
that what it was?
Woo! Ugh.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody gave her an arm bar, and
Yeah.
that was it for you.
Well,
Yeah, really. Yeah. I haven't gone back since. I'm afraid.
you remember how you called me Kramer,
Yes,
right?
because you were in school with a bunch of little
Well,
kids. Like,
she was too, and what she didn't tell you was it was a little kid that put the arm bar on her and pinched her nerve in her elbow.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How old is this kid now?
Uh now
Yeah,
mid-20s
she's
probably.
probably in her 20s.
it was a girl at least.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
okay.
girl.
All right.
And it was
Find her and take her down.
Oh my god.
It's the only way you can get past this. You have to go back and get even. You have to sneak up on her if you have to. Just
I wouldn't even remember what she looks like now.
we'll find her. Jason knows a way to find her on the internet. He can find anybody on the internet.
I found you.
He has his ways. He's
Oh,
kind of a creeper like that.
Let me check with my buddy. He knows how.
All right, yeah, you got to find this girl. You got to seek her out, and you got to take her down. That's the only way. That's just
yeah. Not
even though
sure I'm gonna
you
do
got it,
that because I'm not physical.
it's
I'm
mental.
just
No, it's a mental thing now. It's mental. You think you're going to hurt your arm again? See, it's all mental. You got it. Once you take her down, it'll be over. You'll be fine. You got to move. You got to move past.
okay.
I'll help you find her. What was her name?
Oh, I don't remember. That's
All
the
right,
thing.
we got to go back through the records. We got to find her old, your old.
Jason might remember.
Find the
I
old.
have no
We got
idea.
to find the old dojo records. Check with the sensei. Hey, sensei, who's the girl that kicked my butt
Oh,
when she was 8 and I was 24? All right, you got to get back into your training. You got to do it, even if you're just punching a heavy bag or just work on your kata. It's all yourself. I remember when you were learning Japanese. I was so proud of you. It was all awesome. You were like ich ni san chi go. You were counting in Japanese. I'm like, hey, I know some of that. And then
mhm.
I have no martial arts training.
So
I was almost an
No,
instructor.
we know.
Just tell you.
same story over and over.
Oh, well, listen to who's talking. Oh, well, my brother told me that I couldn't do karate when I was 8, and then I got turned away, and now look at me. Are you training? You haven't been training either.
Not
No,
currently.
no. Oh, I hurt my elbow. You both hurt your elbows, and neither one of you are training karate now. So get your stuff together. We're
That's
counting
true.
on you. It's the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, and we can't have the two people that are kind of spearheading this whole thing not doing any martial arts. You got to get out there. You got to start training.
So I have to tell you though, like
Okay, tell me.
for somebody that was not, and this is the point to other people out there, somebody who was not athletic, failed out a gym class her senior year, was lucky that she had a second semester to retake it, or she would have been.
You wouldn't have graduated because you flunked out of gym?
Yeah.
Really?
Hmm.
But once she found the martial arts, though, she was very good at it. Like it was very. She's a great martial artist. There's no doubt about it.
Wow.
And
Listen to that.
Hmm.
it's
I felt her wrath.
yeah.
Here, I still feel it.
So it just goes to show you that most typically and generally people that are less athletic tend to do better with martial arts, and they tend to get more out of it. I mean, the uh, confidence building was huge for you, I think, Katie.
Hmm.
That and the general manager that you used to work for, kind of brought you out of your shell, and
Hmm.
now I have to listen to it
I
365.
might have had something. Thank you for doing this tonight.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I don't know, you're just pretty special. That's all.
I'll tell you what, it's been one heck of a ride, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, it seems like you got the right co-pilot.
And there's a lot of times where it's frustrating, and I was talking to my cousin's wife who had a disability too, and I was telling her about the scooter, and she said, "Yeah, you guys are exactly the same." She was like, "I wouldn't have went over to that scooter if it was him." She said, "Because he'd have bit my head off," and so
Hmm.
I just so she knows, and it's kind of that deal, and so she puts up with a lot of stuff that's unseen. Um, it's not perfect, but there's not a night that we go to bed that we're mad at each other or anything like that.
Well, thank you for being our guest tonight, Katie
Yeah.
Davis, the wife of Jason P. Davis. Don't forget the P. Don't leave the P out.
No.
All
He
right.
signs every card with Jason P.
I always wondered why he did that. I thought he just likes
That's
the
why.
P. So, you've been listening to Beyond the Label. It's a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities, presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. AdaptiveMartialArts.org, breaking barriers one move at a time. Well, Jason, that's another one in the can.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank
sharing
you.
your life story, and Katie, you as well.
I knew we had to cover this episode, and I thought it was going to be a tough episode, but you actually made it easy. The humor helped. So thank you, thank you for that. I think it's a pretty important topic, and hey, we'll catch you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Katie.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Label. If you'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode, email contact@adaptivemartialarts.org. Beyond the Label is produced by JD Production and presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. Check them out at adaptivemartialarts.org. Breaking barriers, one move at a time.